Hi everyone, this is Kelsey Jones, Executive Editor of Search Engine Journal, and I'm here today with Lisa Beyer, the author of Social PR Secrets. Lisa, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
So I know at PubCon you talked a lot about social PR and mobile PR. Do you want to kind of go into that a little bit?
Sure, definitely. So we live in this world now where everything's at the palm of our hands, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're just constantly getting all of our information that way. And not just our audience, but also journalists and bloggers, they're getting everything also in the palm of their hand.
Yeah.
So making sure that our pitches that we're doing and the content we're sending out is as mobile friendly as possible with the journalist in mind.
Gotcha. That makes a lot of sense. I know the accessibility really brings up both a lot of opportunities and then a lot of times for businesses to fall behind, especially when it comes to optimization and everything like that.
Definitely, definitely. And I mean, we kind of run on this treadmill of our hamster wheel where it's like a never ending thing. You know, everything's 24/7. We're constantly producing. We're getting emails, at 11 or 12 o'clock at night, and we're checking them. So it's a good thing because we can pretty much reach anybody 24/7, including the journalists, but it's also a bad thing and it can lead to burnout.
Yeah, definitely. I want to talk a little more about burnout a little bit later, but I wanted to ask you, for me, working for SCJ, I get tons of pitches every day. How do brands do PR without coming across as intrusive or annoying, or especially on mobile?
Right. I mean, that's a great question. So traditional public relations before social and SEO was what it is today. Email and phone calls were the way to pitch a journalist.
Yep.
But today, and then to create that media relationship.
Yeah.
So today what I recommend is, journalists also want to have their own personal brand, and they're building that through social media. So not everybody has tens of thousands of followers. The journalists don't. They started a little bit late. So following them on Twitter, following them on their social media network, and interacting and sharing their stories on a continuous basis you're going to get noticed, because they're going to notice that you're helping them get publicity for themselves.
Yeah.
So that's one way to really get to them and without being intrusive. And then when you're ready for the pitch, they might be following you back and you can send them a direct message.
Yeah, I think relationships go a long way. Like I have one, I wish I could remember her name, but one PR person, she went out of her way to find something personal I tweeted about. I think it was Seinfeld, because that's my favorite show. So she brought some joke into it as like an intro, and it really, it showed that she took the time to pay attention to what I liked, and so now we kind of have a good rapport because of that.
Exactly. It's just not realistic. I have a client that's at New York Comic Con this weekend. There's 1,500 journalists that are registered. It's impossible to have a relationship with all of those journalists and to do personalized emails. So you just have to pick your top journalists that you really want to have that relationship with and just focus on those top 10 or top 5, and then you can do the types of things like that example of getting personalized. But it's impossible to be personalized when you're going to the masses and it's generic.
Yeah. So kind of going back to the overwhelm and working too much, I know that's something that you have kind of touched on before, the mindfulness and not getting burned out. What are some of your strategies for not getting burned out, or the top things that you want people to start thinking about?
That's a great question. So in social media, we're constantly creating content, and we're also constantly checking and engaging. And how do you step back and make space in your life for your sanity?
Yeah.
So I like to say 3 things. So it's duplicate, replicate, and meditate. So duplicating would be whatever you're doing right, show somebody else what you're doing that's on your team, so they can do the same thing and they can duplicate those exact efforts. And then replicate and delegate would be replicating your repurposing that content that's doing really well, so that you're not constantly reinventing the wheel. And then meditating can be different things to different people. It doesn't have to be like sitting here like this, but just taking a break to get your creativity going.
A walk, maybe.
Take a walk. Make yourself take lunch, make yourself get 8 hours of sleep at night. And being in social media, we always have to be on and being creative, and you're going to eventually get burned out if you don't take care of those things and really take that space to be able to rejuvenate.
Yeah, that makes sense. So to kind of tie everything up, what are some other tips you would have for PR people specifically that want to pitch big brands without coming across as well, I know we kind of touched on this, but I don't know.
Well,
do you know what I'm trying to
yeah,
say?
well, I mean, I think one thing that public relations professionals can do now that would be helpful is, like you gave the example of maybe doing some of the work for you, but also being visual and
Okay.
being able to offer visuals that are compelling and original, and even using video to pitch the story. So,
that's a good idea.
So doing like a 2-minute video or a 1-minute video of your CEO talking about something, that way the person can know, okay, here's the personality I'm dealing with, or here's the angle, or here's a quick product demo. Nothing commercial. I mean, that's not going to work. But authentic videos that are just taken from the iPhone that you can just help tell that story. So I think that that's one way to kind of get in the door, and they might even use that video part of it.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's what I was thinking. Some insider little trick.
Yeah.
So I like it.
I mean, video is where it's at right now. We're sitting here doing this video
yeah,
now, right?
Exactly.
But I mean, you don't have to be search engine journal to do videos and make them work for your brand.
Sounds good. Well, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks, Kelsey.
Again, this is Lisa Beyer and Kelsey Jones for Search Engine Journal. This is Kelsey Jones, Executive Editor of Search Engine Journal, and I'm here today with Guy Kawasaki, Chief Evangelist of Canva. Guy, thanks so much for joining us. I know you did a keynote today at PubCon about personal branding and social media.
Conferences I attended, the speakers were fantastic. The weather here has been amazing. I mean, this location, the hotel.
The thing I'm really liking about the SEJ Summit is the 3 takeaways structure.
Yes.
I'm leaving with way more.
I also like the single session format for conferences.
I agreed to be a speaker here because I think above all else, the quality of people who attend the meeting, something to be said about the fact that you can't just pay to come here. It's by invitation only.
What I've really liked about the speakers is that it's been very well-rounded. We focused on content generation ideas.